Asia, just saying the word feels heavy, like opening a door into a world that's too vast to hold in your mind all at once. It isn't just a continent. It's a living, breathing force, a place of contradictions, where ancient rituals survive in modern cities, where silence stretches across endless landscapes, and where chaos explodes in the streets before sunrise. I came here not to escape, not to collect souvenirs, but to feel, to test myself, to live inside cultures that would challenge me, surprise me, and sometimes even terrify me. And what I found was everything I hoped for and nothing I expected. What makes Asia unique isn't just the landscapes, though they are staggering. It's the moments that catch you off guard. One morning, you find yourself climbing onto the back of a reindeer, guided by nomads whose lives haven't changed for centuries. The air is crisp, the forest mist clings to your clothes, and suddenly you realize you are riding the very animal you once thought only belonged in children's stories. Another day, in a jungle far to the south, you sway back and forth on the back of an elephant, a giant whose slow steps shook the earth beneath, deliberate, heavy, perched high on its back. These animals have walked beside humans for thousands of years, carrying kings, farmers, and wanderers like me. And as I sat there, high above the ground, I couldn't help but feel small, not just in size, but in time, like I was borrowing a moment from a bond older than memory. Then there are the challenges that make you question why you travel at all. Travel is not always safe. It isn't always pretty. But the risk, the unpredictability, that's what makes it real. You don't remember the easy days. You remember the days when everything changed in an instant. Asia also has a way of daring you to step outside your comfort zone. I'll never forget the night. A man placed a glass in front of me, filled not with wine, not with tea, but with snake blood, still warm. He grinned, nodding as if to say, "This is the moment. Are you brave enough?" My heart raced as I lifted it. The taste was sharp, metallic, almost electric, and in that moment, I wasn't just drinking blood. I was swallowing tradition, swallowing fear, swallowing a piece of Asia's wild, untamed spirit. Asia doesn't let you stay the same. It pushes you, tests you, reshapes you. And then, between these shocks and challenges, you find the quiet truths. You see them in the women of the villages, in Laos, in Vietnam, where life is hard, but dignity runs deep. I watched women bent over in rice fields, their feet buried in mud, their faces shining with sweat. I watched others at their looms, her hands moving with a rhythm faster than my eyes could follow. In one lifetime, each pattern carrying a story older than the villages like an elder telling its story. Their beauty wasn't loud. Every thread she pulled wasn't just fabric. It was in their strength, in their patience, in the way they carried families and traditions without asking for recognition. They were the heartbeat of their communities, steady and unshakable. And in their eyes, I saw resilience that humbled me more than any mountain or temple ever could. That is Asia, a place where one day you're laughing with children in a dusty street. The next, you're holding your breath as an elephant carries you into the jungle. One day, you're chasing freedom across endless plains. The next, you're sitting in a hospital bed, wondering what comes next. It's a continent that offers you beauty and danger, silence and chaos, comfort and fear, sometimes all at once. It doesn't care who you are when you arrive, but it guarantees you won't be the same when you leave. This journey across Asia was not perfect. It was messy, unpredictable, sometimes painful, but it was real. And in its rawness, it became unforgettable. So come with me, through the reindeer forests, the elephant jungles, the bustling streets, and the silent shadows. This is not just a trip. This is a story. This is Asia. Mongolia was definitely one of my favorite places to visit. It is one of the places in the world that feel untouched by time. The silence here stretches further than roads, and the horizon looks like it might never end. They call it the land of eternal blue sky, and as I stepped into its vastness, I understood why. Over 250 days of sunshine every year, A sky so wide and endless that it feels like the roof of the world has been lifted away. Here, the air is sharp, the light is pure, and the land untamed. Imagine riding for hours and hours, and still nothing but open steppe in every direction. Grasslands rolling like green waves, broken only by a lone rider on horseback, a shepherd guiding his animals, or a yote standing proudly against the wind. This was not the crowded Asia of neon lights and busy streets. This was silence, space, and freedom. Mongolia is a country where nature rules. Winters are brutal, summers can be scorching, but people have learned to adapt in ways that fascinated me. I stayed with nomadic families who live in traditional yurts, or gers as they're called here. Simple round tents built with wood and felt, but strong enough to survive storms. Inside, life is humble. A stove in the middle, rugs on the floor, beds around the edges. No luxury, but everything you need. The family welcomed me as if I were an old friend. They offered me arag, fermented mare's milk, sour, unusual, but deeply symbolic of their culture. I sat with them, sharing stories even though our languages were different. Hospitality here isn't a choice, it's a way of survival. In the steppes, if a stranger comes, you feed them, you give them shelter. Tomorrow, you might be the one who needs it. Mongolia is also the land of horses. They say there are more horses than people here, and I believe it. Everywhere I looked, herds galloped freely across the grasslands, manes flying, hooves thundering. Mongolians ride almost before they can walk. Horses are not just animals, they're companions, workers, even part of their identity. Watching children race across the steppe on horseback was like watching history repeat itself. And speaking of history, this is the land of Genghis Khan. From these very steppes, a man once rose to build the largest empire the world has ever seen, stretching from the Pacific to Europe. Today, statues and monuments honor him. But what struck me more was how his spirit still lingers in the people. Proud, resilient, fiercely independent. But Mongolia is not only about vast plains. I traveled further and discovered rugged mountains, frozen rivers, and desert dunes. The Gobi Desert was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Golden sand stretching endlessly, camels walking slowly under the burning sun, and at night a silence so complete it felt holy. Then there were the Orkhon Valley and its waterfalls, places where nature showed its softer side. I remember standing by a river at dawn, mist rising from the water, hearing only the calls of birds. It was like time had slowed down, letting me breathe in a way that city life never allows. Yet, what I'll remember most about Mongolia is not the landscapes, but the feeling it gave me. A strange mix of isolation and connection. When you're out there, with no roads, no internet, just you and the earth, you feel small, but at the same time, free. I thought about how easy life can feel in cities, and how hard it can be here. Surviving harsh winters, moving with the seasons, depending on animals for food and warmth. And yet, there's a wisdom in it, a simplicity. A reminder that humans don't need much to live, except land, sky, and each other. Mongolia was one of the beginnings of my journey across Asia, and it set the tone. It taught me that travel isn't always about ticking off famous landmarks or chasing comfort. Sometimes it's about being uncomfortable, about stepping into silence, into vastness, and listening to what the world has to say. Vietnam is a country that hits you from every angle. The colors, the sounds, the food, the history. One moment you're floating down a river so still it feels sacred, and the next you're dodging millions of motorbikes in a city that never seems to sleep. Vietnam doesn't ease you in gently. It grabs you by the hand and pulls you headfirst into its rhythm. Somewhere between China, Laos, Cambodia, and the South China Sea lies this stretch of land, ancient, scarred, beautiful, and defiant. A place where mountains rise like the spines of dragons, where monks chant prayers not far from neon-lit clubs, and where peace grows out of soil once soaked in war. Our journey here begins on the water, a narrow wooden boat gliding through a maze of jungle rivers, the branches hanging low, the air thick with humidity, and the smell of wet earth. Life here is inseparable from the water. Children splash on the banks, fishermen cast their nets in silence, and women paddle long canoes loaded with fruit to trade in nearby villages. Time feels slower here, though never empty. Everything breathes, everything matters. It's also here, in the countryside, that I faced one of my strangest and most unforgettable travel experiences: the snake ritual. A cobra was pulled from a woven sack, its body tense, scales glistening. It wasn't a show, it was tradition. For generations, snakes have been part of food and medicine in Vietnam. The belief is that their blood carries strength, fire, and vitality. And so the ritual unfolded. The snake was beheaded, the blood collected into a small glass and mixed with rice wine. Dark red, still warm. I raised the glass. No flinching, no hesitation. To drink it was not a dare. It was to step into something ancient. A declaration that I wasn't just passing through Vietnam. I was choosing to feel it fully, even the parts that made my stomach twist. The snake's body didn't go to waste. Every organ, every strip of meat was used. Grilled, fried, stewed with herbs, I tasted it all. A strange mix of flavors, chewy and spiced, carrying the weight of survival and respect for nature. Here, nothing is wasted. Even danger is transformed into nourishment. But danger in Vietnam doesn't always come from snakes. In one of the villages, a stray dog bit me. At first it seemed small, just a nip. But in this part of the world, it's never something you take lightly. Rabies is a silent killer. And so my adventure suddenly included hospitals, needles, and a rabies vaccine. A painful reminder that travel isn't always sunsets and smiles. Sometimes it's risk, sometimes it's fear, and sometimes it's your body reminding you how fragile you really are. We dove into the echoes of history, the Cu Chi tunnels, dived narrow veins beneath the earth. Crawling inside, feeling the stifling heat, I tried to imagine what it was like to live down there. Entire lives hidden underground, children born, meals cooked, battles planned, all while bombs shook the soil above. It's not just a tourist stop, it's a visceral experience, a history lesson written in sweat and dirt. You feel the fear, the claustrophobia, the resilience. And history isn't only underground. Across the countryside, rusted helicopters sit abandoned in open fields, relics of wars that still pulse in memory. Stone statues of prisoners stand frozen in chains, silent witnesses to suffering and resistance. These aren't just monuments, they are wounds and reminders of how far Vietnam has come and how much it still carries. But Vietnam isn't just scars and shadows. As the sun sets, cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh ignite with energy. Neon signs light up streets, crammed with food stalls, rooftop bars, and the hum of millions of motorbikes weaving through the night. Bui Vien Street in Saigon is chaos in its purest form. Crossing the street here deserves its own mention. With over 45 million motorbikes registered, stepping off the curb feels like stepping into a flood. At first you freeze, sure that you'll be swallowed whole. But the trick is simple. Walk steady. Don't run, don't panic. Just keep moving, and the tide of bikes will flow around you. And then, beyond the cities, the pace slows again. Vietnam's countryside is its soul. Rice paddies stretch like mirrors across valleys, reflecting the sky. Farmers bend over their fields, water buffalo pulling plows, generations working side by side. It's work that is exhausting, but it is also identity. Rice isn't just food here, it's history, family, and survival. Meals are more than meals, they're rituals of connection. A steaming bowl of pho, slurped on a street corner. Banh mi stuffed with pickled vegetables and pork. Fresh herbs and lime on every table. And in the villages, it's not about the dish, it's about the company. A cracked open coconut shared among strangers turns you into family. A laugh exchanged over sticky rice binds you to people whose language you barely speak. Vietnam has a way of making you belong, if only for a moment. And of course, there's the motorbike. No visit is complete without climbing onto one. Here, the streets aren't ruled by lanes and signals, but by instinct and trust. To ride a bike in Vietnam is to join a living current, a flowing ballet of motion and madness. At first, it feels suicidal. Then it feels like freedom. Vietnam is a contradiction. It unsettles you, then embraces you. It demands courage, but rewards it with connection. It shows you scars, then overwhelms you with beauty. It makes you sweat, it makes you laugh, and sometimes it makes you bleed. But always, always, it leaves you with more than you came with. This is not just a country you visit, it's a country you feel. It stays under your skin, sometimes literally, like a bite or a scar, and it refuses to let you leave unchanged.
Thử ly trà đi.
And I went to Laos, a land that doesn't overwhelm you with noise or neon lights, but instead whispers its story through rivers, temples, and the gentle rhythm of village life. Laos isn't a country you rush through. It's a country you feel. Every path, every smile, every shared moment carries a softness that reminds you the world doesn't always have to move at full speed. I first felt it on a train ride through the countryside. The station was barely more than a platform, wrapped in mist, where locals waited with quiet patience. And when the train finally groaned to life, I pressed my camera against the window as rice paddies, rivers, and little wooden houses passed by. It wasn't just a ride, it was an invitation to watch life unfold frame by frame, with no rush. Inside the carriage, there was no urgency, no chatter drowning out thought, just strangers breathing the same air, traveling together through a land that knows how to wait. That's what Laos does. Its children don't run away, they run toward you. Curious, fearless, honest. Their smiles don't come automatically, they're earned. And when you earn one, the whole world feels a little lighter. I wandered out with a bag of snacks and no translator, and soon I was surrounded by children. At first cautious, then playful, then piling in with laughter. We shared biscuits, jokes, and moments that didn't need words. For a little while, I wasn't a foreigner or a filmmaker. I was just the stranger with snacks, and that was enough. Later, a woman sat me by her loom and showed me the art of weaving. Her hands moved with a rhythm too perfect to be learned in one lifetime. The loom creaked softly, like an elder telling its story. Every thread she pulled wasn't just fabric, it was history, patience, memory, a language written in cotton and dye, passed through generations of women who kept the culture alive. And then the jungle, vast, damp, alive, a cathedral of trees where every sound had a purpose. Birds calling, monkeys crying, leaves whispering as if the forest itself was breathing. There was no Wi-Fi, no distraction, no noise of cities, just the raw pulse of the earth. For a moment, I disappeared into it, not out of fear, but reverence. In the villages, the women are the heartbeat of life. They balance children on their hips while stirring pots, running shops, mending clothes, and keeping the rhythm of family intact. Their strength doesn't need an audience. It's quiet but undeniable. I sat in their homes made of wood and woven mats, smelling of spices and smoke, and I watched children dart barefoot across the floor, laughter echoing like birdsong. No polished furniture, no Instagram tablescapes, just bowls shared cross-legged on the ground, generations gathered around the same meal. I fed an ox one afternoon, its eyes calm, its pace steady, its strength ancient. Later, I watched it pull a plow through the earth, the way its ancestors had for centuries. Out here, no machines replace tradition. The farmers know when to sow, not because of apps or forecasts, but by the sky, the soil, the wind. Knowledge passed hand to hand, season after season. One morning, I woke to silence so deep it felt alive. I walked to the window and found water everywhere. The river had risen, wrapping the house in its embrace. The reflection of the sky shimmered on the surface, and for a moment, I felt like I was living in a floating dream. Later, I lay on a mat, receiving a traditional Lao massage, her hands pressed with the knowledge of centuries, as if she wasn't just easing muscles, but untangling thoughts. And while I lay there, children gathered at the window, staring, giggling, smiling, their eyes wide, their laughter unfiltered. Somehow, being stared at by kids in a small Lao village made me feel more connected than walking unnoticed through a crowded city back home. Laos doesn't shout, it doesn't beg for attention, but if you listen, it speaks. In the steam of a bowl of noodles cooked over fire, in the laughter of children unafraid of strangers, in the hands of women weaving memory into fabric, Laos reminds you that beauty doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers, and when it does, you don't just see it, you feel it, and you carry it with you long after you've left.
ไปส่งยังอมกี่เนี่ยฮะค่ะไปเมืองไปส่งยังอมไปส่งไอเดียส่งคิวไปส่งไอ้โซเพชรนี่มันว่ามันนั่นนี่ว่าก็เดียวว่าสิไปใส่ว่าเขาโจมTak to wygląda. Taki night market.
Thailand hits you differently. The moment you arrive, it feels alive, louder, brighter, heavier than its neighbors. The air itself carries a charge, like the country is daring you to jump into the unknown. And so I did. I rode an elephant for the first time in my life, a giant whose slow steps shook the earth beneath me. Perched high on its back, the world looked smaller, almost fragile, while this ancient creature moved with patience and power. There's something humbling about being carried by an animal that has walked the jungles longer than history remembers. But Thailand isn't only about quiet jungles. At night, the cities transform into something else entirely. Neon lights flicker against the streets, music pours out of every corner, and the nightlife has a magnetism you can't ignore. It's wild, unapologetic, and full of surprises. Some you expect, others you don't. One of those surprises was my first encounter with ladyboys. Back home, the concept was distant, almost unreal. But in Thailand, it's out in the open. They are everywhere, on the streets, in shows, in nightlife scenes. At first glance, you'd think you're looking at women. Perfect makeup, soft voices, carefully chosen clothes. But then the truth hits, and it's impossible to unsee. It's confusing, unsettling, even shocking when you're not prepared for it. People will tell you it's just part of Thailand's identity, but for me, it felt strange, like walking into a mirror maze where nothing is quite what it seems. It was a cultural reality check, one that left me half curious, half uncomfortable. Thailand has a way of pushing your limits. I held a snake in my hands, its body cool, heavy, and alive, muscles rippling under my grip. For a moment, I wasn't sure who was in control, me or the creature. It was a rush, the kind of rush that makes you more aware of your own heartbeat. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to what came next. Standing beside a tiger, walking with it, touching its striped side as it moved with a power that could have ended me in a heartbeat. To feel its muscles ripple under my palm, to hear the deep, low rumble of its breath. It was terrifying and mesmerizing all at once. The tiger didn't care who I was. To it, I was just another presence in its space. And yet, for those moments, I wasn't just watching the king of the jungle through a cage or on a screen. I was there, next to it, alive in its shadow. It's one of those experiences that changes you, not because it's safe, not because it's comfortable, but because it reminds you exactly how fragile we are when we stand next to true power.
นอนเลยใช่ไหม
ซิทออนนี้แล้วก็นอน
วันมอเซอร์วันมอเอามาเลยโอเค
เอาลงเลย
That's Thailand, a country of contradictions, ancient temples and neon streets, calm elephants and roaring tigers, beauty and shock, the sacred and the strange. It doesn't try to make sense, it just is, and you either step into it or you don't. Kyrgyzstan, a land of towering mountains, vast open plains, and a people whose traditions are as enduring as the landscape itself. This Central Asian country, often called the Switzerland of Central Asia, is known for its breathtaking scenery, nomadic heritage, and strong cultural identity. The people are warm and welcoming, offering guests fermented mare's milk and fresh bread as a sign of hospitality. In the warmer months, many families move into yurts, the traditional portable dwellings of the Kyrgyz nomads. A yurt is a circular, felt-covered structure that can be set up or taken down in just a few hours. The frame is made of wooden poles, and the walls and roof are covered with thick layers of felt to provide insulation. Inside, the floor is covered with shirdeks, beautifully handcrafted felt carpets featuring intricate patterns that represent mountains, rivers, and the sun. The walls are adorned with embroidered tapestries, often depicting scenes from Kyrgyz history, animals, or symbols of good fortune. A yurt is more than a home, it is a sacred space. The entrance always faces east, toward the rising sun, symbolizing life and new beginnings. Guests are always seated on the left side, while the host's family sits on the right, following age-old hospitality customs. Animals are the foundation of Kyrgyz village life. Almost every family raises livestock, which serves as food, transportation, and even currency. Horses are the most valuable animal, used for transportation, work, and sports. Horses also provide milk for kyrgyz and meat for special occasions. Sheep and goats are raised for wool, milk, and meat. Their wool is essential for making felt carpets and warm clothing. Cows and yaks provide milk, cheese, and butter. Yaks, which thrive in the high-altitude pastures, offer thick fur and nutrient-rich milk. Dogs, especially Tazi and Alabai breeds, guard livestock from wolves. One of the most incredible traditions in Kyrgyzstan is eagle hunting. Hunters called burkuchi train golden eagles to hunt foxes, rabbits, and even wolves. The process of training an eagle is a lifelong commitment. Hunters capture a young eagle from its nest and raise it in their home, feeding it by hand and forming a deep bond. The bird learns to recognize its master's voice, responding to calls and commands. Over the years, the eagle is trained to hunt on command, using its powerful eyesight and razor-sharp talons to take down prey. The partnership between hunter and eagle is built on trust and respect. After 20 years of service, the eagle is released back into the wild, a moment of both sadness and pride for the hunter. It is believed that the eagle will return to nature with gratitude for the years spent with its human companion.
Oh, good.
Tom, doe de tapje in. Ja, zo ja.
Hier, давай. Давай. Ver, pues. Давай. Тут гери.
Кавалик я, виничку. Якийсь пані є там. Тому. Спасибо. Kawa jest. Wszystko jest.
Kazakhstan is a land of horizons. When you first set foot here, the sheer scale of it takes your breath away. Endless steppes roll on forever. The sky so wide, it feels like it could swallow you whole. It's a country caught between two worlds, Europe and Asia, past and future, silence and secrecy. Traveling here, I quickly realized Kazakhstan isn't loud about its beauty. It doesn't reveal itself easily. You have to look closer, listen longer. Only then do you start to see what makes this place extraordinary. But Kazakhstan also carries scars. You can feel them in the cities, in the concrete skeletons of Soviet architecture, in the watchful eyes of people who seem cautious about what they say. For me, this became especially clear when I began searching for traces of Polish history here, traces of the exiles and prisoners once sent across this land. I visited schools, quiet buildings that hold layers of untold stories. At one, the teachers welcomed me warmly, but there was always a pause before they spoke, as if weighing every word. History here isn't just taught, it's managed, controlled. At a church, I hoped to find open doors and open stories. Instead, I found silence. A priest spoke with me briefly, but cameras and recording were strictly forbidden. The weight of unspoken rules pressed down heavier than the cold stone walls. Then there was the woman who called, inviting me to Mass. For a moment, I thought I had found someone willing to share, but she never appeared. It left me with an uneasy feeling, as if the truth here lives behind closed doors, always just out of reach. Kazakhstan is beautiful, yes, but it's a beauty layered with mystery and restraint. You see it in the vast landscapes where freedom seems infinite, and in the guarded conversations where freedom still feels fragile. Even simple encounters carry weight. A stranger's handshake felt firm, but his eyes darted like someone checking for shadows. Laughter in a schoolyard rang bright, but quickly dimmed when questions of history surfaced. Kazakhstan may not shout its story like other countries, but if you pay attention, you'll feel it. In the wind across the steppes, in the silence of old churches, in the guarded kindness of its people. It's a country that doesn't give everything away, and maybe that's what makes it linger in your mind. Because mystery, after all, has its own kind of power. Asia isn't just a place I visited. It's a place that changed me. From reindeer and elephants to snake blood, tigers, and mountain skies, every moment was a reminder of how alive this world really is. Every border I crossed taught me something. That beauty doesn't always shout, sometimes it whispers. that people, no matter how different, share the same heartbeat of family, food, and laughter. That travel isn't about escaping life. It's about meeting it, face to face, raw and unfiltered. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Like, subscribe, and let's keep exploring together, because adventure never ends. It just waits for the next chapter.